Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 24th day of September 2025, Wednesday of the 25th week of the year, the 25th week in Ordinary Time. It is a muggy day today. Hopefully it's the last of the muggy days here in North Carolina for at least a little bit, as summer continues to claw at fall, which has already come into this area. And so it's going to be hot into the 90s today, but I think this might be the last of the 90s for just a little bit. Hopefully it is. So we'll see what happens. Our readings for today, the book of Ezra continues. Again, here is where Ezra, the full impact, I guess, of what God has done for Ezra, or for not just for Ezra, for the Israelite community, comes to bear upon Ezra. And during the evening sacrifice, as it begins, he rises and he tears his cloak, and basically he says to God, we are undeserving of all of this, to be able to come back to our home, to be able to rebuild the temple, to be able to start again, because we were so wretched and disobedient, and we didn't care. We made a mess of life for ourselves and everything else like that. And so we don't deserve this. But then Ezra recognizes again the power of God's own goodness, to overcome all of these deficiencies within us and everything else that we can basically lay upon ourselves that we don't deserve, or we're bad, or we're evil, or whatever it is, and never really achieve what it is that God wants us to achieve, because we're so focused on everything that is wrong with us. And so at the same time, as Ezra basically lays out the truth of where Israel had been and what Israel had done to deserve exile, to deserve the loss of everything, now God has brought it back, and God has allowed them to rebuild the temple, and God has allowed them to start again. And again, how glorious God is in allowing them to be rescued like this, and seeing this as the work of God, not just as the work of Cyrus, the king of the Persians, not just as the work of the Israelites who managed to sustain themselves in the midst of exile, but the work of a God who cares, a God who loves, a God who comforts, a God who brings us back when we have lost our way. Again, a very Franciscan understanding, again, of God coming from the mouth of Ezra in many ways. Again, Francis probably got this because he had heard this reading from Ezra a couple of times. Again, to bring back those who have lost their way. Israel had lost its way. God brings them back home again. And that is something, again, to recognize about the wonder and the beauty of being a part of the life of God. In Luke's gospel today, we have the moment in which Jesus sends out the apostles to cast out demons, to cure the sick, and they go 2 by 2. They're not supposed to take a walking stick. They're not supposed to move from house to house. They're supposed to eat what's put in front of them. And if people don't like what they have to say, or don't like the proclamation of the gospel, to shake the dust from their sandals again. So we always hear this in many ways like that. What should strike us, though, in this reading is that it is coming at chapter 9. There are 24 chapters in Luke's gospel. Chapter 9, we're not even halfway through the gospel, and already Jesus sees something, at least in these disciples or these apostles or whomever. Again, it's never specifically clear, again, who is sent out, but the sense in which these people are sent out to do this amazing work, and to begin proclaiming the gospel, even though just a few minutes ago, they, a few sentences ago, a few chapters ago, they were getting it all wrong and misinterpreting it and not understanding what Jesus was talking about. And yet there's a moment in which Jesus basically sends them out to begin to do what it is that they're going to do once he returns to the Father. Again, to tell the world about him, to be able to be people who bring hope and peace and light to this world, who bring comfort, who help again to heal what has fallen apart, to build back up what has fallen apart. These kinds of realities, these kinds of truths, we need to sort of sit with, because it's not passing through a crucible necessarily. It's not being able to prove ourselves worthy, or whether or not we merit, because nothing is ever said of these individuals who are sent out that they merited to have this responsibility. They are just sent out, and everything works to the contrary, it seems, in the chapters and verses before this moment, that they would not be deserving to be sent out. They don't understand truly what they are doing, but God sees more than we see, and with that, we need to see more as God sees, and not prohibit, or not stop, or not judge a movement of God's Spirit in this world that doesn't seem to be in line with our own human understandings of progression and moving through tests and whatever it is, and being able to merit and earn or deserve some kind of place or some kind of standing. God doesn't take into stock all those human contraptions. God basically works with what needs to be done and asks us to be receptive and to do what it is that God asks us to do. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.